not going to go.
I'm trying to get more. Hello? Hello, I'm here. The recording said that we're being recorded. Yes. I have found that recording is pretty important. I did a real good interview, and I went to check it, and by golly, my guitar fingers hadn't lined up. Had to go back to the guy with hat in hand, red face, and plead for another one, and by golly, got an even better one. Offer I couldn't refuse. So we're talking today to Larry Powers. I understand you're raised on a ranch and got into industry. Could you give us a little bit of the background?
Yeah, I was born on a small cattle ranch in southern Idaho, and I was, I loved it. I mean, I grew up in this little community, and the people were just fantastic. Unfortunately for me, my father had a serious problem from the time even I was a little boy. He had a severe drinking problem, and then quite early on, he ran a ranch that my grandfather left him and his brothers, and then they didn't get along, and they fought, and they finally decided to sell the ranch. They sold it, and we moved into Burley, Idaho, a little town there for a while, and then my grandfather decided to retire, so he offered my dad, who was the second oldest boy, and his older brother the opportunity to come back out on the ranch and run the ranch again. And my mom kind of went back to my dad, and we went back out on the ranch for a while. But my father, his drinking problem just, he couldn't overcome it. One time he took a load of cattle to the sale in the fall, and that was the money that they needed, to operate on literally for the next year. So I grew up with a single mom, and she was a fantastic lady, but she worked. All she did was she worked 3 jobs. I was me and my 2 sisters, and she worked, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew that I'd love to have a ranch someday, but I didn't know how I was going to do that. So I went to college, and I actually majored in agricultural economics and animal science, and ended up going to work for Chevron Chemical Company right out of college that sold, fertilizers and pesticides and that to the farmers. I did that for a short period of time, but then I ended up, they transferred me actually from Billings, Montana to Florida. I ended up meeting a guy there at a trade show that was in the lighting fixture business, and he offered me, which was, quite a little better paying job, just a better job. I was just a young guy right out of college trying to pay my bills. So I went into the lighting business and ended up spending the next 40 years in lighting, and eventually became the CEO of the second largest lighting company in the world. And when I retired, I ran the company for 15 years. When I took over, it was about a $450 million company. And then we had Philips, the Dutch company, came along and offered us a lot of money for the company. It was a public traded company on the NASDAQ, and they offered us to pay us, a lot of money for the company. And so we ended up selling out. I didn't want to sell out, but we had no choice. When you're part of a public company and somebody offers you a lot of money, you don't have much choice. So I sold out, and I worked for them for just a short period of time, and then I retired. And when I retired, I wanted to come back west. I was living in Louisville, Kentucky at that time. We'd moved our corporate headquarters from New Jersey to Louisville, and but we wanted to come back west. That's where our families were. We came back out here, and then I still had the urge to fiddle around with cattle and horses. I ended up buying a little horse ranch up in Midway, Utah, near Park City, and I bought into a little cattle ranch in Malad, Idaho. We sold that a few years ago and bought another ranch in Wells, Nevada, which I just sold just literally within the last few weeks. I say I've sold it. I've got half my money. I still owe money, but I still fiddle around in the cattle business. I still have a couple of really nice quarter horses that I go up and ride, and I go up and help them bring cattle off the mountains and help them brand. And that's how I met David. A friend of mine who I met in our church here they buy these yearlings from Mexico and bring them out here and run them on the desert. They got about 50,000 acres out here, and they run anywhere from 1,100 head up to as many as they've had over 2,000 head this year. Cattle prices are very high, and they don't have as many as they normally have. I think he's got about 1,100 right now that he's running out here on the desert. And then they'll take them and sell them. They actually don't totally sell them. They'll put them in the feed yards in about the end of May, and then fatten them out and eventually sell them. But I've been retired, and I spend 6 months of my life in Arizona, which I love in the wintertime. It's beautiful. Today it's almost 70 degrees. And beautiful sunshiny skies. And then we go up to Utah where it's nice and cool and beautiful in the summer. And I have my horses and that up there. And we have a great life. I have, 4 children and 13 grandchildren and 4 great grandchildren, and life is good.
Well, I was impressed as you were bringing the cattle out of the bunch up into the crowding chute. I'm going, by golly, I never saw John Wayne on live on the hoof before in my life. so Midway is fairly high elevation. So yeah, that is to me that's a little bit warmer than what I run around up here in Canada with. So now, were you born at Sublette? Is it, you say it's Sublette in Idaho?
I was born in Burley, Idaho, which is about 35 miles away. Sublette is just a very, small little. There's no town. I mean, there was no school there. I had to go into Malta, ride the school bus and that when I was a young boy, to go to school in the little town of Malta. That's where I met my wife. She was from Malta, the little town there. That's just a very small little, community. Just a ranching and farming community in southern Idaho. It's about 40 miles inside the Idaho border from Utah, about, kind of the central part of the state in Idaho. It's a great area. I mean, they're great people. I go back there a lot, and that's where my wife's family and others from there, and my family's still there. And I always go up there every Memorial Day to visit family and friends. And I try to go there. Usually I haven't gone since COVID the last few years, but I used to go up there every year to the Cassia County Fair and Rodeo. When I grew up as a kid, I was a wannabe cowboy, and I love the rodeos. So I go to a lot of rodeos and kind of keep in touch with that side of the market. And I got a lot of friends that are in the cattle business. And the ranch that I grew up on is still actually in our family. When my grandfather died, he left it, I had a portion of that, but we basically gave it to my cousin's boys so that they could run it. And we wanted to keep it in the family. They couldn't really afford to pay very much for it. And if we'd have charged them full price for it, they couldn't have made it. So we made it so they could buy the ranch and keep it in our family. So I still go up there and ride with them once in a while and go see them. And it's still a lot of fun for me to go up and remember my childhood days riding up there in the mountains. It's a beautiful area. There's a big, beautiful reservoir up there, and right up in the mountains, and bring cattle off, and that is still one of the fun things in life that I do.
So what was the name of the lighting company that you had?
Genlyte, Genlyte, was that's how it was traded over the stock market. What we did, a lot of people don't know much about that name, and the reason they don't is that we built the company from within. I mean, we would grow, by manufacturing new products, new innovative products. We were known as a very high-end quality lighting company. For many years, probably 30 years, one of the companies that I ended up merging with and bought, lighted all the Walmarts. So when Walmart was in their heyday, building all their stores, and that, we lighted all the Walmart stores. We lighted most of the Nordstrom's department stores, and did a lot of business with people like Macy's and commercial lighting. But we had all kinds of lighting, street lighting. We did a lot of business in decorative street lighting that would light the streets and towns of our country, and it was a fantastic company and a fantastic business. I couldn't have been happier. I'm one of those guys that I never went to work a day in my life. I enjoyed what I did so much. It was just an absolute thrill, and I just couldn't have been happier with my career.
So one of the guys, was it Richard or Keith? One of them said, so how many people did you employ at that plant in Mexico? And you said, well, I think about 500. And I was wondering how many employees you had in the States and in Canada.
Yeah, I think, if I remember correctly, and it's been some time, but I think we had at our peak right around 6,700 actually sticks in my mind. I wouldn't swear to that exact number, but we had, when I retired in that, we had 36 manufacturing plants in the United States. We had 3 operations in Mexico, and then we had, I think, again, I'm forgetting exactly, but I think we had 6 in Canada. We were the number 1 lighting fixture manufacturing company in Canada by far. Nobody was even close to our size. We were also the number 1 lighting fixture manufacturing company in Mexico. Now, I'm talking about for the Mexican market. We also produced some products, which they still do today, at a little in a little town called Camargo, Mexico. They still produce products that they bring back, to the United States to sell in the States. But we had a very nice, company there for many, many years selling into Mexico and into Canada. I spent, a lot of time in Canada myself over the years and quite a bit of time in Mexico because we had some really good operations there. Well, I was one of these guys, one of the things and where I got at real odds with Phillips, the company that bought us out, when they wanted me to stay on, I had to agree to stay on for 1 year, through the transition. But the first thing they wanted me to do was start closing all of these plants. And I went to them and said, look, you need to find a new president. I spent 15 years building this company up from $450 million to $1.7 billion. And I said, I took great pride in manufacturing in North America, in the United States, Mexico and Canada. And I said, I'm just not going to close all these plants. The Dutch felt that if you weren't producing product in China, you weren't producing it at the lowest cost. The thing they didn't realize is that we had spent a lot of money in innovation, and we prided ourselves in being able to deliver quality products on time. When you're in the construction industry and somebody is finishing a school or they're getting ready to open a new shopping center or whatever it is, that lighting is one of the last things that goes in, but they need it. You can't delay them. One of the things that Phillips has done, the company is now a fraction of the size, about a third of the size it was when we sold it to them, and that because they can't deliver, products on time. They're still the largest lighting fixture company in the world. They bought another major U.S. lighting company, and then they were the largest lighting fixture manufacturing company in Europe. So they still are the number one. My youngest son still works for the company, so I still know quite a lot about them, but I don't really have anything to do with them other than just listen to my son tell me what's going on these days.
So it's really hard to understand certain corporate mentalities, right?
Well, yeah, you don't understand why a company buys a company that is very successful at doing what they're doing and then immediately proceed to change it. One of the first things that they came to me and said, we'd like to move the corporate offices from Louisville, Kentucky to Boston. And I said, do you understand the cost differential in operating in Boston, Massachusetts versus Louisville, Kentucky? I said, number one, none of the employees will go with you. They didn't believe that. Well, we had one clerk that actually moved to Boston. When they moved, and they went ahead and moved the plant, the company headquarters anyway, but they lost all the employees. So you lose every employee that you have at the corporate office. Now, so you're going to start all over. It's like a new company, and they don't know anything. They didn't know anything. They didn't know anything of the history, the culture. And we were a very successful company. We were making a lot of money. And, when I became the CEO of our company, our stock was selling for 2 5/8. They bought us out at $95.50 a share after a 2-for-1 split. So gives you some idea how much the company had grown and how our shareholders. The one thing about the company that I'm always proud of is to say, look, I personally made a lot of money and did very well, no question about it. But so did all the people that were on a 401k. So did all my employees. We had a lot of stock options and things we gave out to employees. A lot of people in the company did very well, and I was very happy about that. I always hated it when I saw companies that would sell out and the CEO and a few other, the top executives would make a lot of money, but nobody else would did well. Well, that wasn't the way it was with our company. Everybody that had a 401k, and we had in a part of our retirement program, a lot of people would invest, and one of the options they had every year was to invest in our company stock. So a lot of people had purchased our stock as a part of their retirement plan, and they did extremely well as a result of when we sold the company. Our stock, I don't remember exactly what it was selling for. I think somewhere around $50 a share, but like I say, they paid us $95.50 a share for it.
Well, I've tried to keep my eyes open and keep my mouth shut. That's never worked, but have been able to keep my eyes open. And a couple of things that I've learned is if you've got good people, you've got it made, and if you don't keep them happy, you got a problem. So it seems to me like that idea, that philosophy that they had, man, they're setting themselves up for failure, and I just have a hard time why people can't understand it. And to treat your employees right, oh my goodness. Have you heard of? Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, very early on, we had a lot of unions and so once a year I would get together with all of the union leaders and the management of our company. We'd sit down and kind of talk. Well, the first year that I went into this meeting, they started talking about, well, this person didn't get promoted because they were black or they were Hispanic or they were a woman or they were this or that. And I got really upset. And I finally said, look, let me tell you guys something. We don't have to have this meeting. And I said, I love to meet with you, but if we're going to come in here and this is what we're going to talk about, I have no interest in having this meeting with you. I said, these are all my employees. I don't care whether they're black or brown or white or women, female, male. It doesn't make any difference to us. All we're looking for is for good people who do their jobs. And if you do your job in this company, you're going to love the company and you're going to do very well. And if you don't, yeah, we'll probably fire you over time or force you out because we don't want people that aren't willing to participate. I said, but we're not going to come here every month and talk about gender and, all that kind of race and all that kind of stuff as to why people get, because I said that's a bunch of crap. We don't look at that at all. I don't care. We got lots of very good, black employees. In fact, our workforce by far, we had a lot more black and Hispanic people in our workforce because we had a lot of plants in Texas and Mississippi and Tennessee and our workforce was dominantly black and Hispanic and they were fantastic people, did a great job and we loved them. And but they were good about it. They said, well, okay. And so we kind of got over that and that never was really brought up again at any of our meetings. And I was very happy about that.
And you were able to keep unrest in the workforce at a minimum, no doubt.
Yeah, no, we had like I say, we had a good company because, and I was always one of these kind of guys that if you're a customer of mine and you buy something, and this is what everybody knew about me, is if you buy something from our company and you got a problem, you call up, we're going to fix the problem. I would tell the people, don't worry about whose fault it was or who's going to pay for the cost of it. When you deal with contractors and that, you get involved in a lot of situations where things are properly installed and they're improperly installed, I should say, and things don't work the way they should or whatever. But I said, but originally, I don't even want to talk about those things. But the main thing I want to do is to solve the customer's problem. You get them back to where the customer's happy, and then we'll worry later on about who's going to pay for it or whose fault it was or whatever. But my goal is to make every customer say, hey, when you buy from Genlite, you're going to buy from a company and they're going to take care of you and you're going to be happy as you can be because they took care of your problem. I bought some products lately. It's just unbelievable how companies react today. They don't want to take care of their problems. They don't care if you're a customer. They don't care if the product doesn't work. They don't want to do anything. I don't understand how people think that they can be successful and stay in business, operating with that type of a culture. And it just was never my culture. Everybody knew that. I wanted to be sure that we took good care. We took good care of our customers, and the same thing with our employees. I wanted our employees to all be treated with respect and taken care of. But the employees also knew we expected them to come to work on time and to work and to do your job. If not, you're going to get fired.
So, on my experience coming back from Phoenix the other day, the plane didn't take off quite when we're supposed to. Everything was really, really great. But when I got to Calgary, I'm a boy from the sagebrush, and I had a problem getting to where I was supposed to be to get the plane, my connecting flight to Medicine Hat. Now, I'm not sure if it was my fault or if because we were late touching down, I wasn't able to make the plane. Well, the company just stood behind it. They said, "Oh, plane's gone, but no problem. We'll get you shuttled down to a hotel. You got a night, you got a room to stay, and here's a couple of vouchers for food." And by golly, I was a little disappointed not getting my son's place that night, but we got there the next morning. It was great. And the way WestJet handled me.
People want to work with you.
Yeah, the way WestJet handled me. I got a friend who's got a company called ASI, Autonomous Solutions, there in Cache Valley, Utah, and they put kits on trucks and graders and construction equipment so that they can run without an operator. And when I came through Globe in Miami, the day after we'd had that branding, they're selling a lot of stuff in those copper mines over there. And so Mel put up a video on YouTube that a company in Australia, a lady running this company, mining company down there, and she wanted to turn everything autonomous. And she was taking those guys out of the equipment, taking them into the office and retraining them. So trying to make their transition as seamless and pain-free as possible. They didn't lose their jobs. They just went to something else, and their experience was invaluable to the company. And I go, man, life, you got to love a company like that. And I sure love. I agree. Yeah, you got to love that. So you're 83, are you?
82. I'm 80. I'll be 82 in 2 months. Oh. I'm 81 in like 10 months.
Giving you more credit than you're due. Now your wife is 80, is she?
She's 81. She's 6 months younger than me. She turned 81 in November. Yeah.
So how's she doing? I've been concerned about her
She's doing pretty well right now. I mean, it's a scary thing. I mean, she's got 2 severely leaking heart valves, and they can't operate on her because of, some past problems, and she's got osteoporosis really bad, and that they didn't think that she would, could get through the surgery, and so she's definitely living on, some borrowed time, but we're just hoping that we can have her for a few more years. And right now she's feeling good. She's doing well, and they don't know. The doctors don't even. I mean, the estimates they give are anywhere from 6 months to 5 years. So that's a pretty wide range.
Yeah,
and they have no idea. But right now she's doing fine, and we're just happy to have her home. She's a lovely lady, and we're just happy to have her home with us and doing well. And like I say, she's out running around with a couple of her daughters today, enjoying herself, and she's doing well.
Down there in Gold Canyon, or the valley. I was so glad to have met you and the other guys, and I just felt just a little bit left out that I didn't get to meet her too. Have you heard of a guy named Frank Vandersloot?
I have. That name actually kind of rings a bell, but I can't.
He's from northern Idaho. He was at BYU the same time I was. I never knew him. But he took over a company called Melaleuca, and they're headquartered there in Idaho Falls area. And a guy that I was working for, I was selling livestock supplement, and this guy told me about Melaleuca, and so I checked it out, and they've got a humdinger vitamin mineral. Well, they've got a whole bunch of stuff, and I started taking them. Boy, I mean, it's none too good, but better is better, and they keep me walking. So
I've been a real believer. I have a company that I've dealt with for many, many, many years called Life Extension, and they produce. Okay. I mean, they're the second largest, medical research company in the world, and they do a lot of research and on vitamins and minerals and all kinds of supplements and that kind of thing. And I follow them. They put out a magazine, like quarterly or whatever, and I follow them very dearly. And I'm very happy with because I just learned a lot of things that I think can help to keep you much healthier and more viable. I'm an 82-year-old, almost an 82-year-old guy, and I'm still riding horses and playing golf 3 or 4 times a week, and I don't have any limitations or any physical limitations really at all at this point in my life. A lot of them, when I go up there to ride horses, they say, Larry, you shouldn't be riding horses up here in the mountains at your age. And I said, well, if I'm going to die, and I just soon die on a horse up here in these mountains, is die in a hospital bed. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep doing it as long as I can.
So where's that company? Where are they headquartered at?
They're headquartered out of, Just type in Life Extension. You'll see them. They're a huge company. I think it's either Miami or Fort Lauderdale. It's in Florida, and I don't remember exactly. My wife is the one. She's the one that always placing orders with them for a lot of stuff. But they are a really, really good company, and they're a big company and a lot of research, and they do a lot of really good stuff. I think it's called Life Extension. If you type it in,
Extension.
You'll have to check these because they're a big company.
after I heard about Melaleuca, I'd heard that companies making colloidal minerals, and there was a company in Florida that we dealt with. And there's a lot of good stuff out there, but there's also a lot of garbage.
That's the problem that we have is I wish there's some way, I'm not a big guy on government regulation and that kind of stuff, but man, in some ways I kind of wish they could stop, all the unbelievable claims a lot of these companies make, and that it's just a bunch of junk and a bunch of lies. The problem that we have as just mortal human beings is we don't know what's good and what's bad, and that's what's kind of sad. That you got so many unethical people looking to make a dollar. Somebody comes out with a new vitamin or something that somebody says is good, and then you got 15 other companies the next week producing the same thing, and you have no idea whether it's good. You just don't know.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So to get to Sublette, if you take I-80 out of Ogden and go north past Snowville, is that puts you on, do you go right through Malta on that run?
Well, Malta, it used to be you would go right through Malta. They built a new freeway, 84. I think it's 84 is the freeway that goes, but the freeway goes right between Sublette and Malta. If you're going north on, on 84, you get to Tremonton, and then, I-15 continues on north up to, Pocatello and Idaho Falls and on up into Montana. You probably know that route. And there's a road there. There's 84 that veers off to the west, and you take that, and it goes northwest, and it's the one that goes up, and it goes through the mountains. There's a big mountain there called Black Pine, and it goes between there, and then Sublette's a little bit further west, and Sublette's a little bit further east, and Malta's a little bit further west. Yeah, when I say a little bit, I'm talking about 5 to 6 miles is all.
Yeah. Well, I've been on that road at least once. I was hauling ammonium sulfate out of U.S. Steel Geneva Works, and they'd send us up to Perry to a fruit stand place. Guy had orchards and stuff, and I delivered 2-3 loads to him. And one day I got up there, and he said, "Oh, this load's got to go to American Falls." So I called up the boss, Hal. He wants this got to go to American Falls, and the truck I was driving didn't have any reciprocity or fee plates for Idaho or anything, just all in Utah. And he said, "Well, you can go by way of Snowville. There's no scales that way, and go up. We'll probably be okay. If we get a ticket, then we just have to tack the price on for the guy." And so I went up there over Snowville and down the other side. I think it was Rockford or Rockland.
Rockland, yeah. Well, if you went through Rockland,
okay,
Rockland
yeah.
Just over the mountain from Sublette.
I know. I was just talking to somebody about it, and it was you, I think. So we went down and backed into the shop just as far as we could, and then started to dump. Well, it didn't take very long, and we had to start pulling out because we were going to be lifting the building up off. So we ended up with a load of fertilizer right in the doorway, mostly. So that was quite something. Well, by golly, it's sure been good talking to you. Thank you so much.
All right, yeah, good to talk to you, and you take care.
Yeah, and hey, if you guys ever get to the top of I-15, come and see us. Bring the grandkids up. There's lots of dinosaur museums up here. Well, maybe you know that. You had to have been in Calgary lots.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's lots of these places, and we got our nose to the grindstone all the time. My wife and I are still driving school bus. So we can't get away and go see the places. So if somebody comes, then we'll be forced to go and see what we have. So it would be a real service to us.
All right. Well, you take care.
Thank you so much. I sure do appreciate it. And it was so good to be out there. I didn't do anything actually, but it was sure good to be there with you guys. Anyway, you have a good one. Right. Thank you.
You bet. Bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.